I mean, honestly, like I was watching some of this budget. Did you know? I think it was around, with the country going into a deficit and we're spending billion, well, let's say trillions of dollars. They have taken out of this new bill that just passed House $15 million to put ankle trackers on cow.
Oh yeah, that's the GPS and they're also doing the help me out. My brain's not working today, but the microchipping on livestock.
That's ridiculous. There's no reason to be microchipping livestock. Now, if a farmer or a rancher wants to microchip his livestock, he should. But the government doesn't need to tell them they need to do it.
Yeah, and that's the exact debate that I had with my uncle. And I was talking to him about it. It was how Jody Arrington with Texas District 19 had voted to microchip livestock. And my uncle said, "Oh, well, you have to think about it, Chance." He said, "It's so much easier to do that, and it's less invasive on the livestock. You don't have to heat up a branding iron. You don't have to do this. You don't have to ear tag. You don't have to." And I said, "That's great. The technology is there. If you want to do it, by all means, invest in that and run your cattle program that way. Why do you need the federal government to step in and tell you have to microchip livestock?"
Well, the government's, I mean, Kate, you're big on TikTok, and we all kind of do TikTok, right? But now they've got it to where they're trying to ban TikTok. Okay, now, and this goes back to freedom of speech and people being able to, and I find so much information out on TikTok, but the government can't censor TikTok for the American people. I think they said there was over 134 million American users, and it just passed the House. I mean, what they're going to end up doing, Kate, is if this goes to Senate and passes and everything, they're going to have, TikTok's going to have 165 days to either sell to an American company, which the government controls, and can silence us and do whatever, you know what I mean? And can monitor us and all the BS. Or it's going to be banned from any app in the United States. I mean, Kate, you're young, you're seeing this right behind, in front of us. And I tell people all the time, if we as Americans don't stand up as parents right now, for all the BS that's going on, while we have a chance, our kids aren't going to have a chance to be able to stand up.
Yeah, I've seen the changes in TikTok lately. I actually turned my business account off. I just have a personal because all they have right now for music is just the commercial stuff. And I can't stand that. Being a music photographer, I want to be able to play my locals' music. But if I don't have access to it, how am I supposed to showcase their work? So I'm like, I don't care if I get paid by TikTok or not. I want to push their music. So I just turned off my business thing so I don't make money.
I could show your way around that. Why don't you come to me? Tell me.
Because I like to figure things out on my own.
No, I got that. No, we got ways around that. All right.
But that's just the idiocy of this government that we've got right now. I mean, let's put it in perspective. We've got Chinese nationals flooding our borders, coming in from Canada, coming in from Mexico. They just said the other day that California has one of the largest influx of Chinese nationals flooding this country. For the last 10, 15 years, we've had China buying property in the United States and Texas.
Yes.
And now they're worried about TikTok. I mean, let's put it in perspective. We are being overrun and invaded by China, and they're worried that TikTok is going to steal my personal information off my phone. I will give it to China if they want to know anything about me. There's nothing to hide.
Yeah, they want to watch me shake my booty, and I don't care.
Yeah, but I don't want them invading my country, especially illegally across my borders.
It's no different than Canada. A lot of people don't realize the country of Canada owns over 800,000 acres of woodlands in Texas. They damn sure do. Yes, Weston Martinez has talked about that. We have countries buying land here. But you go to Mexico and buy land. You go to China and buy land. It's not going to happen. But however, they're coming here, buying our land. they're not citizens of the United States. They're worried about an app. An app? Really? Okay.
Because they can't control you on it. They can't control what you said like they did with Facebook. They can't go out there and put their finger on Mark Zuckerberg and say, you need to shut this down, and his stupid liberal butt. And he's going to come out there and censor what everybody says. But they can't do that with a Chinese corporation.
See, they tried the whole thing with X whenever Elon Musk took it over because they can't control him. And freedom of speech is so important. Freedom for a business to be able to function and run. And I mean, it would be like the government coming in here and telling me you cannot let people say what they want to say in your building. It's the same thing. Okay. That's not right. I am a private business. And if you want to come in here and talk about politics, let's come here and talk about politics. I don't care. You know, it's freedom.
I just miss the old school way of debate. Let's agree to disagree. Like, I like hearing other people's sides and their reason for things. I just don't like, oh, well, my opinion's right, you're wrong. I'm like, well, what if we're both wrong?
And you coming into the gun industry recently has been pretty. It's been somewhat. I don't know if you've seen it. Now you're kind of seeing a lot of things. I'm not saying you were ever left or right.
No, I just hate politics in general. I don't care for either side. I think having two sides is a good way to keep us divided. So
you're exactly right, and that is the greatest way they keep it. If they keep us divided, they keep us controlled. And it's no different than, you coming in here, Sean hiring you because of your mind and the graphics and the things that you can do. We don't care. We didn't care what your beliefs and whether you're Republican or we cared that you knew what you were doing when it come to graphics design. But I used to be in the middle of the road, like a lot of people. And you're a young mom. I walk down that middle of the road, but it seems like everybody's kind of going, away from the middle of the road. And it's not really everybody, with the ones that are screaming the loudest. And it's kind of leaving us stuck here in the middle going, what do we do?
Well, and you just brought up politics. And I mean, let's talk about Super Tuesday that just happened. Yeah, Super Tuesday was the primaries. That's the last Tuesday to vote. And that's when you cast your vote for the primaries of who you want to run for the general election. Y'all know, but a lot of people out there in microphone land doesn't know that I just ran for U.S. Congress. And I ended up losing, which is fine. I don't mind that. I mean, people cast their vote, and that's how it ended up. But let's talk about this for just a minute. Because in District 19, last time I checked, in Texas District 19, there was 479,000 registered voters 2 years ago when Jody Arrington ran again 2 years ago. 479,000. Less than 200,000 people voted 2 years ago. So less than half. This election that I just lost in, let's use the same number, 479,000 voters. You know how many actually voted? 84,500. So less than 18% of the people voted. But they're going to jump up and down and yell and scream about the government and about how corrupt and crooked it is. And they want term limits. And it's kind of like I kept impressing on everybody. Tuesday, that was your day to vote and utilize term limits that was set forth in our United States Constitution. Every 2 years, you get a chance to vote these people out of office. Every 6 years, you get a chance to vote your senator out of office. Your president, every 4 years. We have term limits. But the problem is only 18% of the people are voting. So what they want is they want change as long as it doesn't affect them. They don't have to stop their day and they don't have to do anything. Let's just make it automatic that they get kicked out of office. Well, what if the politician is doing really good? What if he is a great leader and he is representing you perfect? Do you want him automatically kicked out? No, it's up to the people to vote him out.
You want to keep him in there because the next one coming in may be not that great. So it just all boils down to the youth and people get out voting and not realizing how important it is. People say, oh, my vote don't count. Yes, it does.
Well, to be fair, when I did vote, my vote really didn't count. A bunch of dead people went over my vote. So I just forget it voting. And I just like, you know what? It happens. It happens. Just because my voice wasn't heard, and I just don't care to be a part of it anymore.
The thing is, though, you have to be, and it's your choice. But you've got kids. I've got I've got kids, and we don't want to leave them with a world where they can't stand up, where they don't have the right to vote, where they don't have these things. And it's up to us as parents. It's up to us as grandparents that if we're not leaving our kids and our grandkids the perfect world. We're just not. But if we don't get out and vote, we don't get out and try to stand up while we can, we're going to leave them a world where they can't, and they're not going to have that option. And that's sad to say, but it's reality. And, my son has told me since he was age 10, he wants to be a U.S. Senator. He has pushed that. He is big on, Constitution, and he's big on history. And I mean, the kid knows a ton. And he was invited to intern in Washington last year in eighth grade. Eighth grade. I wouldn't let him go because he was in eighth grade.
Oh, I bet he's mad at you. You're the worst dad in history.
And I was supposed to work some deals where he was going to go up there this summer, but we have the election, and things are going a little bit. I don't want him in Washington, and it's sad to say. I don't want my kid in Washington. He did go visit Washington for his eighth grade trip, and he was searched by TSA. And he run his mouth and told them that they were they were only picking on the kids wearing Trump stuff. And that he let them. And then I guess one of them reached in his pocket and he jumped and said, "I don't think you're supposed to touch that." And I mean, he was pretty bad. Okay. And I was just like, son, and he was laughing about it. He thought it was funny. He's like, they profiled me, just because I was wearing Trump stuff. He said they only searched the kids wearing Trump. He says, I told him, we're just a bunch of eighth graders. What are you going to find? We're on a school trip. But we have, if we don't care, our youth won't care.
And I also think that profiling needs to stop in all shapes.
Yes.
Because it's getting ridiculous. There's so many innocent people that have been profiled wrong. And that's what has this bad taste in everybody's mouth. But what better way to have control over us than keep us constantly fighting?
Exactly.
So they want complete anarchy. They keep it up. That's how anarchy happens and a revolution will happen. But I don't know. I'm just over here in the dark.
Well, but, you talk about your vote not counting. We're a country that's supposed to be led and run by the majority. So if you have the minority voting and the majorities being silent, we're not being run by the majority. We're being run by the minority. And I understand what you're saying about dead people voting and, stuffing ballot boxes. And I'm a firm believer that that's been happening the last few years for sure. And they've got to find a better system. The system's broken. We all have to agree on that. But we've got to get the majority back to voting. I mean, we have to, because that is what it's based on. I mean, go to Cuba and ask anybody in Cuba how they'd like to be able to vote for their elected leaders instead of a dictator.
I think what I want is more than just rich, power-hungry people running this country. The way I see it, we're mammals, the only mammals on this planet that have to pay to live. And to me, that's just stupid. Like, we don't have real food with great nutrition. We don't have anything going on. They have commercials for us overseas about how our food's poisoning us. So they poisoned our land. They poisoned a lot of stuff. And I'm just like, I just want to live. That's all I want to do.
I watched a couple of TikTokers that are Americans that actually moved to Russia, and they feel better. The food they're eating, they're healthier. But see, we're run by Big Pharma. Okay. Big Pharma they are, take this and take that. Here's another booster. By the way, there was a guy got 217 boosters. Did you see that?
Saw that.
One day, one time he got 6 booster shots in one day. I mean, Dude, you are you are definitely a test subject at this point.
He just needs to walk around in a bubble if he is that scared of everything.
I mean, 217. They were saying, boosters, and he's not even in trouble. But yeah, so these people, they're healthier. Go back to that. They're healthier. And I've watched some of those TikToks, but see, that's the thing is where did I see it? What are they trying to ban?
But, being young, you may not know where some of this comes from, but being from like an agricultural background and having family that farms and ranches, do you know why so many people are having gluten allergies nowadays? Because if you go back to the original wheat, it didn't have gluten and all that stuff in it. But what they've done is over time, they have to chemically engineer wheat seed so that they get bigger crops, more heads on the wheat plant. So they're chemically engineering all this stuff to be bigger, better for your crop. But when they do that, they're changing what that original. That's why people in Russia. That's why people in Russia and places like that don't have these problems, because they have more of a pure wheat, barley, grain, all of this stuff that they used to have. But over here, I mean, you have to register your wheat seed. I mean, you have to say what kind of wheat seed you're using. And if you come up with something different, it's got to be registered, and you've got to keep track of all this stuff. But that's the reason people in other countries are eating better and healthier than us, is because we've engineered our stuff so much has changed.
Well, they put so many restrictions and things, like when we buy our beef now, and of course people go, oh, well, we do buy it local. I mean, we go to a processor, we'll go in with like half a cow, they'll process it, and we'll have meat for, I don't know, like 2 years. But even what that cow is eating, I mean, it's not 100%, how do you say it?
Grass-fed.
Yeah, grass-fed. Because no matter what, the grass has got chemicals in it. The food,
rain coming down is poison. I mean,
there's nothing organic. Organic is the biggest lie people can tell.
Well, we can always do the man-made meat that they're doing overseas.
No. I mean, there was a South Park episode on gluten, which I just watched. That's why when you were talking about it, I was laughing because they're like, if it's so healthy for you, why don't you taste the concentrate? And then his wiener goes.
This would be a good spot to clip in the South Park episode.
I know. Yeah, I don't know if that'd be great to show, because they show drawn little peckers, so flying off even for the rats.
Well, if it's we put it on TikTok, it won't be banned anyway.
True. YouTube though, you have to do a little blur.
Even like we try to grow a garden at home, and I mean, we're not no green thumb people. And then the bugs got on it, and then what do we go do? Got to buy chemical to kill the bugs.
Well, you know what you're supposed to do? You're supposed to put chicken wire all the way around it, and then put your chickens in the garden so they eat the bugs. Or I've even heard of people going to like their tank and catching frogs, and they put frogs in there that can't get out because of the chicken wire, and they eat all the bugs off of the plant.
My chickens will eat the plants. I mean, them suckers like to dig everything, man. I mean, especially a rooster, he starts kicking him.
Well, then you just eat the chickens, and your chickens are healthy.
Yeah, my wife done named them. I can't eat the chickens. That's one thing.
Like my daughter-in-law.
I mean, that's one thing I told her. I said, you cannot name them. If you name them, you can't eat them. And well, next thing I know, they all got names. I'm like, yeah. I named the rooster because I wasn't planning on eating him. His name's Glock the Cock. Okay. But yeah, it's
Well, it's definitely a mess. Like I said, the whole thing's a broken system. The entire. And like when I was running for office, everybody would try to ask me what's my main platform. Is it immigration? Is it the military? Is it social reform? And it's like, it's all tied together. Every bit of it. If you don't tie the border problem to the military, then, fix the border, but we still got terrorists coming into this country. We have to beef up the military on top of it. Then you have to look at social reform and how your Social Security screwed up. And the entire system is broken, but we keep electing these career politicians who are just feeding their bank accounts.
And they're getting richer while we're getting poor. I mean, we would be better off not paying taxes and investing our own money. At least we would have a future. But they keep taking more and more and more. I mean, you got to think about, okay, and a lot of people don't realize with businesses, okay, so you get paid by the hour, okay? You have to pay taxes. Do you know we have to pay taxes on you working? Okay. And the more you make, the more we pay.
And the more you pay.
And the more you pay.
Or all of you pay.
How are we supposed to get out of a situation? Like if we're going through a hardship and we had to move in with family, how are we supposed to get on our feet if this is a constant cycle?
A lot of people don't realize that. So they scream about $15, $20 hour minimum wage. The problem with that is the more people pay, okay, it's like, okay, say, and I'm not saying how much you make, but if you're making, say, 15 an hour and minimum wage is 7 something, now we move minimum wage up to $15 an hour, then you're going to expect to be $25, $30 an hour. Okay. And then that becomes, okay, now the prices of products going to go up. Okay, so now you're paying more to work, we're paying more for you to work, and you're paying more on taxes to buy products because the cost of it went up. So the only people winning in this situation is the United States government.
And, it's all cost relative, too. It's never going to go back down. So you have to look at it this way. Instead of raising everything, you could actually lower everything. You could lower minimum wage to $4 an hour if you got people who had the goods and services to lower the cost of their products. But see, and then it all balances out. But when you raise the cost of your services, the people who have the goods and the commodities, they're not going to lose money. So all they do is raise the cost of their goods and their commodities. So everything is in direct relation. But once they go up, they're never going back down because now they're making that money. But like I said, if you lowered everything and you got them to agree, all right, let's say the price of a hammer. I make hammers and you work for me in a company and you say, well, I want $15 an hour now instead of 10. Okay, so we raise your labor. I'm like, man, that's costing me money. It's taken out of my net over here. So now I'm going to raise my hammers from $7 a piece to $15 a piece because that way I can pay you more money. But I could do the same thing by saying, okay, well, instead of paying you $10 an hour, let's go down to $5 an hour. And instead of me charging $7 for my hammer, I'm going to now charge $3 because I don't need as much money because you're not charging me as much money. So it all balances out. But you never get people to do that. Once they go up, it's never coming back down. The price of gas, the price of everything. And I mean, everywhere you go now, everybody has a tip jar. And that, I don't know about y'all, that drives me up the wall, especially like in a fast food restaurant. There's a tip jar. And maybe it's just the way that I was raised and I was brought up. When you get a job with somebody, you're basically agreeing to a contract. For this much money, I agree to give you my work in exchange. If that's not enough money, you need to go find a different job. It's not up to the American people to fund your apartment and fund your car on tips. Now, in a restaurant where they're actually seating you and serving you and bringing you drinks, I totally get that, 100%. And I'm a good tipper. You can ask my wife. But at somewhere that's just doing their job, I don't see any difference in a fast food restaurant that takes your order, hands you your food, and they did nothing in the middle than somebody that works here for you. Handing somebody a holster and saying, oh, here's my tip jar. To me, there's no different. What did you do on top of what you've already promised your employer you would do for the wages you earn?
And that goes back to, when I tip, I don't like leaving it on my card. I like giving them cash because then it's up to them whether they report it and have to pay taxes on it. But it's not my responsibility. But I want to make sure that at least what I'm giving them, they're keeping 100% of, because it's not right. Because the government, as soon as they, claim that as a tip, they're going to be paying taxes on it.
I worked both in the fast food and as a server. So I'll tell you, with the fast food, you deal with a lot of shit from people. They are assholes. So honestly, kudos to them for putting those tips out because they have to deal with those Karens.
Well, I got news for you. Every job you work, you're dealing with assholes. You know, as a U.S. Marshal, I can promise you, I dealt with my share of assholes.
That was my first job, was working as fast food. And then I worked as a server at Buffalo Wild Wings. And
that's a harder job.
It's a lot harder. I worked till like 3 a.m, tired. And they only pay you $2 an hour. And then you get your tips. So we would record those, and a cash we try to keep. But unfortunately, working for Wild Wings, we have to tip out to the bar as well. So anything that we dealt with, like I had like this big tabletop, the guy was literally trying to get free food. Everything was wrong, no matter what I did to, ensure. I was checking on them too much. I didn't check on them enough. The food wasn't okay. I'm like, what do you want, dude? And that happened. Awful job. Never will work for Wild Wings again. Horrible people to work for.
I get that side because you're actually providing a service. But when I go through the drive-thru at Taco Casa and there's a tip jar at the window, and I'm like, okay, you basically did what you agreed to do. You took my order, gave me my food.
And now you want me to put a tip on my credit card.
Yeah, why am I paying more money? You need to either charge more or pay your employees more. But I don't think, and I could be wrong, and I'll be corrected if I am, I don't think the fast food industry was ever set up to be a career. Unless you want to be a manager and you're managing, and I totally get that, and they make good money.
Well, yeah, they do.
But starting out as a young person, that is a stepping stone. And that is a stepping stone. It's not, like I said, it's not made for me to fund your new car and stuff. That's your job. That's your salary. And if it's not enough for the lifestyle you want, you use it as a stepping stone and you put it on your resume and you say, here's my references. And now you try for a different job and you start working your way up to where you're making good money. I mean, I remember I used to hoe weeds and stickers for neighbors, for $5 an hour going out there. It wasn't a tip jar. It was, I'm going to charge you $5 an hour to go out here and hoe weeds. And then you work your way up. That's a stepping stone.
I mean, and it's just like, us as a company, I don't have no college education. I tried college. I quit college. Then I tried college again and I quit college. It's just the way I am. But when you look at college education, you look at stuff like that, we would rather hire experienced over college.
Absolutely. All day long.
All day long. So if you are that fast food worker, you are that individual that can't afford to go to college, start learning a trade. Start learning things. I mean, start whether it's graphic design or whether it's, welding. I mean, I go to a trade school. Trade schools, oh, God, you're going to kill it in trade school money. I mean, I watched this lady earlier talking about she's got her master's degree and her husband has like 3 months of trade school and he makes more in a weekend than she does in 2 weeks. Yeah, and it's go to a trade school, learn to weld, learn to work on power lines, learn a good trade because that is where your money's at.
I've got 2 sons that didn't go to college, and I've got 4 kids. My 2 oldest did not go to college. They're linemen for a big company and make 6 figures. They don't have to pay back. Well, I guess now you don't have to anyway. Biden's going to clear your college stuff anyway. My 3rd one joined the Marine Corps, just like I did, and my 2nd oldest. But college is part of the good old boy system. That's 100% what it is. It's the good old boy system that we're not going to hire you unless you go do what we did. And it's a bunch of BS because on the job training, I mean, even in like the U.S. Marshal Service, they would rather hire somebody a lot of times that weren't police officers because then you don't have to change their mentality of the way they did things. Well, when I was cop, we did it this way. And we'd always hear it at the academy. Well, you're not working there anymore. We want you to do it this way. Or the military, the military teaches you how to get your butt out of bed and be where you're supposed to be. And it teaches you to follow orders and directives of how I would rather hire somebody that's prior military because they know how to take orders. They know how to do what I ask them to. They know how to get out of bed and be at work and certain branches. I say that because Chad was a Marine also.
I was Army.
Oh, see, there you go. So,
well, yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. That's all they're having you do is, and when a lot of companies, unless you're going to be a doctor, a veterinarian, a lawyer, orient something, you know what I mean?
Something specific in a, but that's
but
still
if you're
almost
just
like a
going
trade.
to get your liberal arts degree, what are you doing?
Or your business degree. I mean, you can learn that on the job training.
Exactly. I've learned so much about being a business owner, and I've never been, I spent a couple of weeks. I did spend a few weeks in business management. I think like 3 or 4 weeks, but I didn't learn much. I couldn't remember. I mean, that was so long ago. Things have changed. But yeah, your business management, go work, go get a job, start learning. College was back when we had to go to the library and look up things. College was back for when we had to open up the encyclopedias that our parents bought, But the amount of information that you have at your fingertips right now, jump on YouTube, I find out how to do so many different things on YouTube and TikTok. I mean, TikTok's great. I mean, it showed me some things on TikTok. Yeah. I mean, I've learned a lot on TikTok.
Yeah. You don't know how many times I've been told, well, I can't draw like that. I can't do that. I was like, do you know where I started? I literally just try to draw what I see, and it's taken years to get where I'm at now. You have to actually put yourself in there. If you have the passion, you can do anything. If you don't have the passion, well, maybe that's not for you. I didn't have to go to school for all this. And I've learned watching my brother struggle because he went to school for video game designing. Well, he can't get a job because he doesn't have the experience. My problem was I couldn't get a job because I didn't have a degree. I had the knowledge and all this other stuff, but I didn't have a degree. They didn't want to look at me. So you guys were the first ones to give me that chance.
And that's because we hired a girl one time. She had her master's degree. And
so I'm with you. I had a partner that had a master's. That's all I ever heard. Well, I have a master's. I have a master's. I have a master's. Who cares?
We hired her in to do some marketing or do something. I don't know what the hell. I just knew she had a master's degree. She had to be the smartest, stupid person I've ever seen in my life. Okay. And it was everybody else's fault. Like, she sent out a email one time on Labor Day. It was supposed to be a mass email, Labor Day. Except for she sent out a Memorial Day email. Or maybe it was Memorial Day, she sent out a Labor Day email. Something. It was something to the effect. Okay. And then blamed everybody else. I mean, I'm like, what are you, sending out emails, for Christmas on Halloween? I mean, how do you get these things mixed up? It would have been okay if she'd have been front and been like, I don't know. I mean, we have a few 100,000 email subscribers, but I'm like, it would have been one thing if she'd have just owned up to it and been like, I messed up. I really, happy Labor Day, and it was on Memorial Day, just isn't really just matching up with our customer base. It'd have been okay, but no, it's everybody else's fault. Even her dyslexia. It was well, what? Yeah, exactly. So it was all sorts of mistakes, and she was being trained. She got trained at school to think only one way. So all she could see is everything she learned in school, and it was in this box, and there was nothing outside this box. Well, that's not the way marketing and things go. I mean, you've got to think outside the box. But the way she went through school is it's this way and no other way. This has to work. Well, it doesn't work like that in marketing. And like I said, she was the smartest, stupid person I've ever met in my life. Nice girl, just everything was everybody else's fault but her own because she had the master's degree.
We see that coming a lot out of millennials now. And I don't know. Yeah. And I really don't know why. I don't know if it's because it's the way that they're being raised and the parents are both working and they're not there to really direct them and give them direction, or I don't know. But, we see them brand new hires. Why can't I have a nice car like this guy that's worked 20 years? Why can't this? Why can't this? Why am I doing this? You have to work your way up.
Wait a minute, you're 30? I thought you were like 25.
Thank you. Yeah, I just turned 30.
Did you? I mean, that's what I thought.
It's the blue hair.
No.
Yeah, it's the blue hair. Guess what, baby? When we get home, you're dyeing your hair.
Yeah, I'm a 94 baby. So, I mean,
94, that's when I got out of the Marine.
yeah, my boyfriend, he's 31. He always like, yeah, I forget that you're 30. I was like, how old do you think I am? He's like 26. I'm like, no, we're literally a year apart.
But COVID turned this country on its ear as far as employees. I mean, you can't find anybody now who wants to work. And everybody's changed their hours of when they come in and do stuff because they found out they can work from home and be just fine. But I mean, you see videos all the time on TikTok of these young millennials that are just bawling because their boss called them in on a Saturday or something. It's like, dear Lord, I used to work 7 days a week, literally. Yeah.
We had a girl apply up here one time when we were hiring. And she gets up here and she does the interview and everything. And it's for customer service here at JM4, where we work, where you come to work. She thought, and it was very specific, even we told her, but she had started making all kinds of plans and she's thinking she's going to be working from home and we didn't hire her. But it's like, what part of you, like, where did you even get this at that you're working from home? I mean, we work here at a building with people and phones and computers and customer service. And I understand some customer service, but we also like people to come to work. We know,
I watched a video the other day that I just laughed. I mean, I literally was just laughing. And it was this young guy that was working at Starbucks. And he was in the bathroom crying and was saying, I don't know how I'm going to make it without this job, but I'm really thinking about quitting right now because my boss has called me in and said I have to work Saturday now. And I'm just so exhausted. And I work so many hours and I work 6 hours today. And this is the only time I have to do anything is a Saturday. And now I have to come into work and I'm just thinking about quitting. And I'm just sitting there. I'm like, are you serious? Really? Your boss called you in on Saturday and you're going to quit? It's just amazing that they've got this mentality that they only have to work 4-hour days or 3 days a week, but they still want everything that the older generation has because we worked up to that point. It's like I used to tell my kids, one of my sons was like, man, I wish I had a big old nice shop like you have. I have a big, nice, I've got like a 40 by 60 building behind my house. And I'm like, son, I was 48 years old before I got that. It's not something that's magical and you wish you have it. You have to work and you have to earn it. And you have to save money. And it happens. The new cars, all the young kids want a brand new car.
Back in the day, I'll say back in the day, it was like 2015 because my other one, some dude decided to use me as a stop sign going through South 11th and Barrow. He was going 70 miles an hour. So my car literally went midair. If there wasn't a post right there, we would have gone through the person's house. And everybody told me to calm down, but I was screaming and cussing at him. He's like, calm down, you have a head injury. I don't give a fuck. I was just like, and I didn't realize I was bleeding, but my car literally, it was crushed on the inside. My kid's dad, when we were, first dating, he could have died that day because the guy was going 70 miles an hour. And that was a brand new car. And I was trying to tell my dad, I was like, hey, why don't we get something a little more substantial? But we ended up getting another Dart and the thing's been, It was a brand new car. Like, granted, the warranties are great and things like that. But honestly, I prefer a used car. It's just a little bit easier to deal with. It might be a little worn in, but
oh, yeah. You don't have to worry about scratching it.
Broken in, you don't have to worry about crap. I mean, a new car is nice, but trying to work for that right away.
You're upside down. As soon as you drive it off the lot, you're upside down.
Well, we just got my wife a new Tahoe, and it's not brand new. I told him, I said, I want something that's at least a year old.
Let somebody else eat that, Let somebody else eat that crap.
But what I'm saying is a lot of the younger generation, they're like, well, why can't I have that? Why can't I have the nice house? Why can't I have, because you got to work for it. You've got to start somewhere and you got to build up.
Well, you also got to work on your connections too, because it's not about what you know, it's about who you know.
Every industry. And I always tell people that people used to call me all the time and they'd ask about being a U.S. Marshal or how do I get into work in, federal law enforcement or how to do this. And I tell them the same thing. When I got hired on and I went through the application process, there were 9,000 applicants for the 500 positions that they chose me in. And so I tell them, I said, you have to learn to specialize your paperwork. So you have 9,000 people putting in. What makes you shine above 9,000? Are you taking extra classes to learn a second language? Are you learning sign language, something that maybe nobody knows that you could put on there? Are you taking this specific course? I have a friend of mine that wants to be a game warden. And I'm like, good, go get with the game wardens and go ride with them and do the ride-alongs. Go volunteer in the summers to go work at the state park and educate young kids and do this and do the mentoring program. You have to put something in there that is going to make you stand head and shoulders above the other 9,000 people. But there's so many of them that don't want to do that. Oh, no, I deserve the job. I deserve it because of who I am or my status or my race or my color or whatever. I deserve. No, you got to earn it. I don't care what color you are. You got to earn it.
There's over 8 billion? I mean, you seen our sign out front, didn't you? Telling, because we have so many rude, entitled people. Have you read that one? Yeah. It says there's over 8 billion people in this world. You're not special. Because we've had some rude people that think they just can get away with anything. Anyways, we probably got to jump off this real quick. We do have a lot. Let's do this every Friday. I think it's going to do really good. I think we need to change the room up.
I'm with you. Let me know.
I just don't know how. She's sitting there going, Chad, we worked our butt off this crap done and trying to just figure everything out.
I honestly think we need better lights. Replace these two.
But you could even have like a just a regular folding table, the big long ones, and all three of us sit behind it, but then decorate the top of it where it doesn't look like a folding table. And if you're doing from chest up anyway, I mean, it wouldn't take much.
We'll do something. We need to figure something out. Maybe we can meet next week before all this and figure something out. All right. Yeah. Well, thanks for watching. Check us out at jam4tactical.com.